Welcome to another edition of Lakers Fast Break Spotlight on the Lakerholics weekend. My name is Jamie Sweet. Next to me is Laker Tom. Joining us eventually and soon will be Michael H. and hopefully L. Rob from the blog. It's been a couple of weeks since the Lakers season ended, just due to scheduling and life and the universe and what have you. We hadn't been able to get a show going here, so here we are. Today we'd like the four of us. Well, at least, we'll start with the two of us, and whoever gets here, we'll add it. We'll add them into the dough later, and we'll see what kind of cookies we can bake. But we're just gonna give our thoughts on how the Lakers season ended, what our overall feelings and opinions are about the entirety of last season. Coach Reddick's first go round as head coach, Luka's acquisition, LeBron's future, and what we might get into what we want to see going forward. I just don't know if we'll have time. I'm just kidding. We'll talk trades a little bit at the end. Tom won't be able to help himself anyway. He'll work it in one way or the other. So how you doing today, Tom? How you doing this morning, Tom?
I'm doing fine. Hoping the Yankees will keep winning. And
man, Aaron Judge is off to a historic start. Makes me wish I had a team worth rooting for, but I'm still boycotting that team.
And I have to admit, of course, as we talked before the show, the demise of the Celtics is always a pleasure for Lakers fans.
Let's start with that. The latest thing that's happened was the New York Knicks, powered by one Josh Hart, and Tom and I just before we started were talking about you could really assemble quite a team with all the ex-Lakers that were out there between Julius Randle, Josh Hart.
Julius Randle is really found his role.
Well, let's be honest. Let's be a little bit honest.
This has unlocked him really. I mean, he is playing the best basketball he's played in his entire career.
He's got the right kind of team around him for him to excel, and that there's enough shooters. They already had shooters because they needed to space the floor.
But he's hitting his outside shot, and he's making smart moves inside, man.
He's cutting down on a lot of the offensive fouls that used to define his career, which was sort of the major drawback.
Hey, we couldn't stop the guy. We couldn't stop the guy, man.
No. And it wouldn't surprise me much, I'm sure, to Ant-Man's legacy's chagrin, if Julius Randle ended up Finals MVP. Should it come to that?
I had the same thought.
And listen, Julius Randle's it's easy to forget. Julius Randle's an 11-year NBA veteran. 1 year he missed because of the broken leg in Game 1. Like 2 minutes into Game 1, he broke that left leg. His rookie season was cut short. And it really felt like his Lakers career at that point was kind of hijacked from him. And that, after that, none of the teams were ever built to win. It's a high pressure environment.
It's great. It's great to see a player figure it out.
Yeah. No, he was not figuring it out in LA.
Guys go through their whole career and never figure it out.
Never figure it out. No,
but goddamn, Julius, you got it, man. You really have got the.
Well, we'll see. He's punched his ticket to the Western Conference Finals. We'll find out.
Team I'm rooting for all the way.
We'll find out tomorrow who's going to be there. I think OKC is going to pull it out at home. That's my feeling. I know that Denver, put together a great showing in Denver, but that Game 6, that road game in Denver, whenever there's a single road game in Denver. After another game, because people forget, OKC had their series locked up a little bit early. Right. They could have traveled to Denver a couple days early and got acclimated for games 1 and 2. And then it's that one-off after you competed where you turn around from your game, hop on a flight, and you're in that altitude. That's a rough one. So it wasn't a big surprise to me that OKC lost. I know they're young. I know they don't.
Hey man, Denver's sitting. How do you like to be the owner of Denver? Okay, I'm going to fire the general manager and I'm going to fire the coach because they can't get along. And the worst thing I want to get rid of them now, because what if we win? I won't even be able to fire these guys. So he makes a decision, I'm going to fire him. And it's turned out to be a gold decision. I mean, it's like, what is this? This is like the Nico Harrison 2.0. You can figure out that you can.
We'll see.
That's where God will save you.
We'll get into Nico Harrison in a little bit. So let's start. Good morning, Michael. How are you doing today?
Aloha, Michael.
No, your audio is off. I don't have you muted, so it's your audio source somewhere, Michael. You also have a second window open on the thing, so maybe it's on your phone or a different window on your computer. As soon as I hear you, we'll chime you in.
Anyway,
let's
Michael.
We can't hear you.
Oh, okay, I agree. Yeah, that's a good point, Michael.
Nobody can hear you, Michael. Don't listen to Tom. Tom's being a jerk. Anyway, there he goes. Maybe he'll come back. All right. It's Monday, or it's Monday. It's Saturday. Technical difficulties abound. All right. So the season started with the Lakers worried about depth, and the season ended with the Lakers still worried about depth. The acquisition of Luka didn't, help with the depth issue. The things that we felt we needed were backup guards and centers, and we go into the summer needing backup guards and centers. So you could say that even though we got a generational talent that replaced, another, pretty incredible talent when you think about it. Okay, here's Michael. Let's try this again. I see you, Michael, but it looks like you've got some sort of screensaver on. I see like a weird basketball. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to leave your guy here, Michael, and if I see you pop up another way, I'll add you to the screen. But it looks like your mic is on, and I see you in the preview, but not on the whatchamahave. So anyway, the Lakers, the Mark Williams trade aside, there wasn't a lot on the table other than the promotion of Jackson Hayes, and I thought that Jackson Hayes did just fine for the regular season. I would be happy to, re-add Jackson Hayes.
Yeah, 45 days. He was the #1 rated defensive center in the league.
For 45 that coincided with an incredible stretch of basketball played by the Los Angeles Lakers. It was what everyone saw that and was like, oh wow, this could really, really, really be something special.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're here
now.
Okay. I don't know what was going on. I have no idea. I've been trying for the last 6 or 7 minutes.
That's okay. Well, we got through it together. You did it. Your Hawaiian patience paid off.
How about those Celtics losing, huh? Nice weekend.
I really want to offer my sincere thanks to the Knicks for preventing them from getting another banner.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Behind by 40 points,
Well, the thing about it was that they were down by 9 with not even
Morning, Rob.
2 minutes left.
Hey,
when Tatum got hurt, they were going to lose that game also. So they're going to go through changes. They're going to go through changes.
Oh man.
Oh well, we won't get into. Let's not get into what the Celtics are going to do. I can hardly wrap my head around what the Lakers are going to do. I hate to see.
Well, they're interrelated.
They are.
They?
They are.
No, we don't want Al Horford. We don't want anybody on Boston.
No, it's not us.
What do you mean you don't want anybody on Boston?
I don't want a single Boston Celtic player. Let them stay there and rot.
I'll take 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, I would too. I would take Drew Holiday in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday's generational defender.
They got 2 guards that you'd like, and I'd take Porzingis too.
Nah, he's
wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
He's broken. He's broken. I don't know what happened to his lungs. That guy's got nothing. When you say that you've got to go into the off season to reset your body, that's kind of a red flag in my opinion. I don't know about the rest of you guys.
Yeah,
that makes me think maybe not next year. Anyway, let's start with this. So we're gonna go around from Laker Tom down to L Rob over to Michael. As succinctly as possible, how did you feel, JJ Redick? What was your thoughts on JJ Redick for the entire season?
I thought that he did a great job overall. There were some uneven moments. It's funny how he made some decisions in the playoffs that were kind of controversial. But he was obviously, trying to prevent getting swept out of that first round. And when we've seen this before from Lakers teams that get into the playoffs, and you go back and you look at the playoff records, and there's 5 or 6 games because you got swept out of that round and nobody hit their shots. In our case, Rui's the only guy who hit shots.
Yeah.
And it's tough on a coach in that sense. And I like how the organization came 100% support of him. I like how all of the players we're in 100% support of him. And I think he showed all of the things that we had great anticipation for. He overcame a lot of deficiencies of this roster at various times during a very hectic season with a lot of the major stars injured and changing from the trade situation. So I thought he did a fabulous job under really trying circumstances. And I think everything points to him being the long-term coach for the Lakers and a great coach in the future.
As much as anyone's a long-term coach in the NBA these days. All right, L. Rob.
Exactly.
L. Rob, I mean, it's just it's just how it goes.
Hey, the younger the kids get, the shorter the time that they're going to listen to the coach. I'm telling you.
I mean, that's not. I don't know. That's a different situation. That's a different topic of debate. What are your L. Rob? Your thoughts on Coach Redick?
I think JJ did a good job. I would give him an overall grade, probably a B. I would give him an A. I would give him an A for the regular season, and probably a C minus, D plus in the playoffs.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
But I weigh the regular season more, especially for a first year coach. So I'm not one of those guys, or take it to a school analogy where your finals is going to be 60% of your grade. And I'm like, wait a minute, what about all the work I've done all school year?
That's fair.
So so that averages out to about a B for me. I thought he did a very good job in the regular season with offensive schemes, with his vision, what he had for the team, and getting the team to execute what his vision was. So I thought he did a very good job. Probably in the regular season, the only thing I would be a little critical of was Dalton Connect. He was kind of up and down with his play, with his minutes, and maybe in a few cases a little bit along the way I would have tried to get him a little more playing time just to get him ready for possible playoff action. The playoffs, though, was another story. I thought he panicked in Game 4 by not playing any guys in the second half other than those 5. And then in Game 5, that was a joke to me, to just defend the three-point line and give guys dunk after dunk after dunk after layup. That was just ill-conceived strategy, and showed he was stubborn, and he just, hey, this is what I said I'm going to do.
He wasn't going to play Alex Len no matter what.
Well, I don't blame him for not playing Alex Len, but I would have played. Yeah, I don't blame him at all for not playing Alex Len. I wouldn't have played Alex Len. I wouldn't. He shouldn't have been on the roster.
I heard what Palika said. Palika said we felt he was a quality center.
Yeah, he was.
It was that
minimum, sure.
Yeah, no, I mean
that's probably the most worrisome thing.
You got to play somebody. You got to play. You got to play somebody, whoever it is. You can't just let Rudy Gobert dunk after dunk after dunk.
No,
I'm still old school. Hey, if they can make some 3-pointers and you're clogging up the middle and you have to give up some threes, then do that. But don't give up all those layups. So he lost his way in the playoffs. That's not the first time that's happened to a coach. He's a rookie coach, and I certainly will give him some grace with that. He does seem to be somewhat stubborn, but he's not the only coach that's like that. So I don't know what he's saying, how he's evaluating himself internally. I mean, I know his comments, he didn't kind of take any ownership in some of that. I didn't think enough. But hey, that's not unusual. So I'm still hopeful that he's going to be a very good coach. It's time to give him the pieces that work with Luka, and then we'll see how he moves forward. But I'm not at all concerned about his long-term prospects right now.
All right, that's fair. Michael?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. Great. I thought he had a great regular season. He made several rookie mistakes in the playoffs. His hands were kind of to give him a little bit of grace. His hands were kind of tied with what he had to work with. Still, and I still kind of blame the front office for not bringing in Trey at the deadline instead of Len. Just because he could have went in beat some people up, drew a technical here and there, got in people's faces, shoved them,
Just
maybe
foul.
yeah, maybe put him, somebody out of the playoffs,
Yeah, right.
I don't know about that, but
we needed that toughness.
Yeah.
And so that was
let Moody know that he's going to get those 2 points, but he's going to be on the ground after he gets those 2 points.
Something like that.
Yeah. So but still, I mean, the whole 5 guys in a half, we lost that game due to fatigue.
Yeah.
That was a fatigue loss. I mean, and he's talking about championship shape, but I'm sorry, after a full season.
We lost every game that way. The last couple of years, we have not closed games well.
Yeah. Well, part of it too was we were not getting, and part of it's on the players. We were not getting any offense from our second unit. I mean, 0, which was kind of a surprise to me, because the second unit. We don't need a high scoring second unit, but we need some guys to score once in a while.
15 to 20 points seems reasonable.
You can't have single digits for your bench.
Yeah, no, you got to get over 10.
Yeah, so that's kind of on the players too, but still, there was things I disagreed with, but
and hence my comment about Dalton Connect not being ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, Dalton could have helped some offensively.
We blew the first game so badly, and
If Dalton would have been available, you could surround him with some defenders. We had defenders to surround him with on the second unit. So, put him in there, hide him a little bit as best you can and let him score some points. But, to be fair, when I looked at the playoffs, there was only one team that I didn't think could beat us, and that was the Grizzlies. And also looking at the playoffs, I looked at just about everybody that we could beat as well. So I didn't have high hopes. I mean, I didn't consider the Wolves beating us a upset at all, because
they were a better team.
The thing with it, the only reason why the Wolves finished behind us was they got off to a slow start, integrating new players, and then Randall went down for a big chunk of time.
Yep.
Once they had everybody back, once they learned to play together, they were one of the best teams in the league. And I expect them to give whoever comes out of the Denver OKC series, they're going to have a tough time with the Wolves. They're a very good team.
I think the Pacers and the Wolves in the finals.
Yeah.
So it's going to be
wouldn't that be great for the NBA?
No, the Knicks are winning it all this season, boys.
The only team that's going to save the ratings is the Knicks.
That's
right. The Knicks have to make it to the finals, or
or nobody's watching. All right. So my thoughts on Coach Redick. I can't disagree with anybody's. Mine are less. I had, if you go back and read some of my posts on the blog, clearly I had issues with the 24 minutes straight of NBA action from the starting 5 in the second half of Game 4. And clearly I thought that there were guys on the bench that we underutilized, specifically Goodwin and Jared Vanderbilt. And I think that there's something to be said about trust. And I think one of my biggest issues with Redick was that it seemed hard if a player either lost or never gained the trust. It seemed like it was really hard for them to break into that circle of trust. Dalton Connect is a great example. Dalton Connect was somebody who at the beginning of the season, literally every single Laker couldn't stop gushing about him. And then once they tried to trade him for Mark Williams, it was like nobody knew how to talk to. It was as if he suddenly developed a third arm or something. Like everything about the relationship changed. And I understand that that's because the trade was rescinded and that's an awkward situation. But as a coach, it's your job. It's your job to create the environment. It's your job. You're like the producer on a TV show. You're not the star. Nobody's tuning in to watch you. You are supposed to make it the best possible work environment for the people who are going to star and for the people who are tuning in to watch. And I think that that's the thing that Coach Redick was maybe the worst at. And then I also think he has a general maturity issue. You saw him blow up on the sidelines a lot. You saw him blow up in post-game interviews a lot. You saw him get snippy with reporters about them asking, fairly basic questions like, why did you play everybody for 24 minutes? I mean, these aren't, you should be, don't go into the meeting room being, well, nobody better ask me about that. Like, come on, bro. Like, pull yourself into yourself and, like, relax. You're getting paid $1 million to coach basketball players. Chill out. So those are my biggest issues with him. And the good thing is that I do feel like, with reflection and time, he could probably overcome those. A lot of coaches come into the league fiery and then, hit some obstacles and things force them to mature. And let's not forget, the guy had his house burned down in the middle of the year. Like his whole life went away. It's an easy thing to overlook but that's yet another thing that he had to overcome this year. So, I mean, I think that B is probably a very fair grade for the overall season. I don't know if I'd go so low as a D grade. I'd probably give him a C- for the playoffs.
A and a C for the 2 seasons.
I give him an A- and a C. Like, for the the regular season. The 3rd seed was great. It was nice for us to. I really think that once we got Luka and once Dalton Connect came back, there was a wave that we were riding that LeBron was primarily responsible for. And once LeBron got hurt, there were no answers. And so I give a lot of credit to that winning streak when Luka got here, when LeBron was fully healthy and not dealing with the groin. I give a lot of credit to LeBron, frankly. He was the one who said, I will lead the, he took the challenge. He took the challenge of leading the defense. Exactly, Tom. And so that was those were all great things. I hope that Reddit can learn some lessons about just, look at Coach Popovich. You don't have to like what you're doing, but you don't have to be a dick about it.
Well, actually, Pop is the guy who's probably been one of the biggest dicks around.
No, but like the way he does it is classic.
Everybody has.
He's classic
in a funny way.
You may have been among the people that have found that to become endearing years later.
Oh, I absolutely. Every time he had one of those sideline. Anytime they went to him at the end of a quarter, beginning of a quarter, how did you guys think you played? Bad. What are you guys going to do? Play better. Thanks, Pop. Those are the brilliant moments. Those are what we want. That's great television. Nobody cares about our coverage is blah blah blah. Stop. You're just trying
bombs were pretty good television
trying to
too.
sound like the smartest kid in the classroom, and nobody likes the smartest kid in the classroom. I think he's fair. Go ahead. Sorry, Michael.
JJ's F-bombs were good television as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, he's coming from a completely different, the podcast background, the media background.
Right.
That's part of his personality, and I think it's actually part of his charm, and I think it does work to some degree, and I think it's going to get better. Like anybody, you get better with practice, and so I have high hopes. Clearly he's going to be back next season. I don't think there's any level of entertaining the idea that the Lakers, for some reason, would change head coaches again. I think he's going to at least get 2 years with Luka. It'd be surprising to me, even if we don't get to the Western Conference Finals, NBA Finals next season, that he gets fired, because they've invested so much in this by firing so many coaches in front of him for reasons that we won't get into.
The only reason he'd get fired is if they don't give him a good team, man. I mean, the truth is,
that happens.
Everything's hanging on Pelinka doing his job this summer, man.
Yeah, well, Rob, I think has a higher degree. He
liked Alex Lynn. He thought Alex Lynn was a solution.
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, I think that's putting a little bit of
hell.
That's a little.
Alex Lynn was the only available guy.
He's the best available guy. Yeah, I don't know that that's. Would you have rather had 50-year-old Dwight Howard? I don't know that I would have put.
I might have rather had 50-year-old Dwight Howard, frankly. But I mean, the point is, he actually thought that Alec Lynn was the best available person, even over the two-way players we had.
Well, I mean, I can see that a little bit. Because
what's this bit with? Why don't you talk to the coach?
I think he probably did.
Well, it seemed to me that
I don't think he makes moves in a vacuum. I think we've learned that about.
I don't know. Scares me. It scares me what scares me is what we end up doing this summer.
Well, we'll get into that later. We're on Rob Pelinka. So let's see. Rob Pelinka was part of the trade that brought Luka Doncic here for Anthony Davis.
And I thought he mastered class of dealing with that trade, keeping it secret and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. That's wonderful. I don't think they could have made it happen any other way. I do kind of, again, like, if somebody shows up on your doorstep with an incredible deal, are you an incredible deals maker or are you lucky?
Well, here's the way I look at it, though, Jamie.
It's a little bit of both.
He spent his career developing a relationship.
We're coming back around the other way. Michael, your thoughts on Rob Pelinka, and we'll go around to Rob. And
here, for me, it's a deal. It's not. Yeah, they came to us, but I'm going to give Rob props for not giving up the farm.
Agreed. Yeah.
You know, we ended up keeping one of our picks. We didn't have to move Austin. We didn't have to move, you know,
Rui.
Anybody, you know, basically. So you know, you have
Max Christie.
Max Christie was, you know, they had to have Max Christie in the deal. It wouldn't have flown, you know, it without that. Yeah. But he kept a lot of assets, so I'm going to give him some props for, you know, not giving up the farm for Luka.
I don't want to give zero props. I just kind of on this overall, it's hard for me to be like, oh, Rob really just did amazing when they came to us with the idea of the trade in the first place.
Oh yeah, but Michael's right. To get what he got for the deal is just incredible. Come on, Rob, he has to give up one of those three guys. He has to give up either Dalton or Reeves or the pick, one or the other. Come on.
Yeah, I have to balance my opinions on Rob between, I think he's done a pretty good job the last couple of years. Before that, he did an awful job, and we're still paying for it in some ways.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, there's a balance there. I think lately, starting with
he's now
dumping Westbrook. You know, once he dumped Westbrook, he's done a pretty decent job from that point on. Before that, well, we had Westbrook.
We had Westbrook. We watched Caruso walk. We had a whole.
Before that, Westbrook.
I really hate watching it. I really hate watching the Clippers play because you're watching Zoo just dominate.
I know.
Yeah, Mike Muscala for Zoo. Come on.
You like watching Caruso play in the playoffs?
Yeah, Caruso's eating them up.
Watching Julius Randle eat them up and do great. And it's like, you know,
those were magic moves. Zubac and Randle were magic moves. We can't fault Rob for that. That was magic. Rob, your thoughts on Rob Pelinka's?
Yeah, let's not dump everything on Rob. I mean, some of that stuff they had to do salary reasons and a few other reasons. But
Westbrook is, I think, the most glaring. Like, whoa, dude, of his tenure as a GM, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he's not the first GM to listen to his players, and I mean, they LeBron and AD advocated on behalf of Westbrook. They said they can make it work, and you know, he's a Hall of Fame player. That does not seem like it was a stretch to see. Jokic said he wanted Westbrook, and it's helped Denver out. So, you know,
because that's all they could afford.
Coach fired. That got the coach fired, though.
Well. Communications got the coach fired. He
wanted to play Westbrook. And The DFS trade was a great trade.
Yeah, DFS was decent.
DFS was season-altering.
Yeah, getting Dalton Connect was a good draft choice.
And let's not forget Rui. We got Rui for second rounders too. I mean, he's pulled off some good ones.
Christie ended up being a good pick at a second round value. So yeah, so Rob's cool. He's okay. He's got a big summer ahead. So far, one championship.
Good Shapino is on Rob too, because nobody wanted him but Rob. So
yeah,
he's got to take that.
He got moved.
He's got to take the bad with that as well.
He's the president now, so there's, you know, he's almost immune. The Luka deal, unless Luka totally bombs, the Luka deal is going to protect him for the rest of his career.
Or at least 3 or
Well,
4 years.
it's all about championships. Luka without a championship.
I think that really depends on
Luka without a ring. Don't do it for me. Or I don't think any Laker.
But frankly, the only reason Luka's not going to win a ring would be Rob screwing up and not doing his job.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Time
will tell on that.
All right. So Tom, you've kind of been chipping in here and there, but your thoughts on Rob? I think you're probably the biggest Rob supporter.
I'm the biggest Rob supporter, huh?
In my opinion, I am not. I don't have that high opinion of Rob Pelinka. I give him a.
It's funny. You know what it comes down to is that everybody's a little different about players, and Rob is not one of those guys who. There are certain guys out there that I've always felt if they liked a certain player, that guy was going to be good. And there's probably 4 or 5 guys out there that were able to make those kind of judgments. We had a couple of them working for us at one point in time. And
Oh, the good old days.
I saw Kobe and said, hey, you can't miss on this guy. So Rob doesn't. It's the Alex Lyns that Rob sees that think are good that really scare me, or just not thinking about the whole structure of the team. I think for sure there's a couple of tests that are going to happen this summer on whether Rob Pelinka is really capable of being the president of the Los Angeles Lakers. And in my opinion, one of the first tests is he has 2 prime assets. One of them is young players, Austin Reeves and Dalton Connect. And the other is a first-round draft pick. Luka being aboard basically has made all of those swaps worthless. Nobody's going to trade for those with us.
Well, I mean, you'll include them, but
they're like second-round picks that you can throw out.
Basically.
Yeah. So what you got to do is you got to split that up. You got to use the pick for the center. And you got to use Austin Reeves to get a starting shooting guard who can defend and complement Luka.
Not happening now, I see.
And that's what's going to happen. That's got to happen. And that has to be made. That decision has to be made this summer because you cannot win a championship with Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic as your backcourt.
I mean, I don't know about that. I think that's putting that's putting the cart before the horse a little bit. I think that Reeves is getting a bad knock. Let me go on. Let me talk about Rob first, then we'll talk about the roster. I think I end every season about the same place with a C+ B- for Rob Pelinka because I feel like every season he does just enough to keep his job and just enough to give you hope for next season. And then, as you say, Tom, it's like the Andre Drummonds or as you said, Michael, the Jalen Hood-Shafinos or the Alex Lyns this year, where there might have been a better internal candidate. There might have been a better internal candidate. I prefer Trey Jameson to Alex Len. I don't think I've ever thought of Alex Len as a player that I even considered as being. I knew he was in the NBA, but that's about where it ends for me when it comes to Alex Len. I'm like, I don't know, is he good at anything? I mean, there's a lot of things going into this summer that'll determine the future. But I mean, one thing is certain that Rob Pelinka did recently sign I believe 3-year extension, so he's going to be around for a while.
He got a new title.
Yeah. So whether he's worthy of it or not, he is that. So we'll leave that till Rob Pelinka.
There's no presidents in this country.
He's also an FOK, friend of Kobe.
That's right. That's right. And FOB, friend of the buses. He's got friends in low places. Anyway, okay, real quick. I just want to put this. Listen, chat. Don't sabotage how we feel about you by posting stuff about Giannis. It's not happening. Just move on.
What's not happening? Giannis coming to the Lakers?
Move on. We do not have anywhere near the ponies to play in that race.
Well, we could accept him if he was willing to play center.
No, Tom. Don't demean yourself here. We all have high opinions of you right now, Tom. Don't sabotage yourself on live TV or whatever you call this. Okay, let's talk about Austin Reeves. I think Austin Reeves kind of got an unfair rap in the playoffs when it came out, and this is classic Lakers. Same thing happened with Dwight, right? Dwight's struggling. Dwight Howard comes to the Lakers on a big deal. He's struggling. Oh, by the way, he just had back surgery. Oh, we didn't. You guys didn't know? Oh,
Well, he hurt
yeah,
his toe in game 3, but what happened in game 1 and 2?
But with Reeves, after the playoffs, it's like, oh, he's playing with a sprained toe, and okay, you could say sprained toe, whatever. But the toes, the feet, that's your shot, man. That's your jumper. That's your speed. That's your cutting ability, and all of those were on pause in the NBA playoffs this season from Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves.
They were also on pause because of the guy guarding him.
A little bit of all of it, sure, and that's. But I guess what I'm saying is that this was Reeves' second playoffs, first one I would say as a true focal point of the offense, and not just a hey, what can you go make happen kind of a guy. And first with Redick, who also was a first-year playoff coach. So I think, and just based on the cost efficiency of his deal, and what Rob has himself said multiple times, I think it's all but guaranteed that Reeves is on the team to begin the 2025-2026 season. I don't think he's getting traded on draft day. I don't think he's going to get moved in a sign-and trade and free agency. I don't think that there's a player you can get back that I would say is a reasonable acquisition in terms of the potential of it happening, that you can replace the points per dollar that Reeves generates. And that's huge for the Lakers right now because there's a $50+ million question mark looming in LeBron James. So, or less. We'll see. We'll talk about that a little bit too before we get out of here today. But I think that you almost have to include Rui on the untouchable list because of the same thing, in that it is real hard. It's real hard to find a guy who consistently shoots 40+% from three and plays the rugged kind of defense that he is capable of playing. And the only time I feel like he doesn't have a high impact is when we don't involve him.
Right.
And that's kind of on the player. The player can be more demanding. The player can not just sort of pass the ball along when he gets it on offense. You can take charge of your life a little bit, Rui Hachimura, and make some decisions to be aggressive. But that core of Luka, LeBron, for however long LeBron chooses to play, Reeves and Rui, has a bright future with the right center and the right bench. And that's, I think, the challenge for the Lakers this season. Rob, we'll start with you. What did you feel about – this is just the general vibe on the roster, kind of a question type thing.
Yeah, so AR, I think what Tom said, he's out there going up against Ant. So you always have to, consider that too. I mean, he's actually going against the best player on the other team.
Yeah.
Bron wasn't, Luka wasn't, no one else had that challenge. He's picking them up and he's in his grill. So, but yeah, Austin left a lot to be desired. He averaged 1 free throw a game in the playoffs. That's not Austin Reeves at his best. He's a 5 to 6 times at least get to the free throw line normally regular season. So I don't really have a concern about Austin and pressure. I mean, I've seen enough to know that he will take on the pressure and he will get better. So, and I know he puts forth the effort. So I think he's got a lot of value. But if you want to construct a roster to be more conducive to Luka's liking, I don't see how you can do that without utilizing Austin to really get a player that can help you. And I think just the way it's set up now, I mean, it's going to be another season with him camping out in the corner or whatever. Austin is best with the ball in his hands too. And with Luka, that's not going to happen as often as it had in previous years. So, but I do think he has value, and I think he's I don't think anything less of Austin because of his playoff struggles this year. I just kind of chalk it up to him going up against Ant, his injury, and him struggling in that series, which happens. It happens.
Totally.
Yeah,
Tom?
I agree with that.
Yeah. Your thoughts?
My opinion of Austin Reeves is that he's one of these rare players who's, by his own performance, and his ability to integrate himself to be a valuable member of a team, he has put himself in a semi-stardom role. He's not quite a superstar, but he's a hell of a lot better than an average role player or a starter on a competitive team. He's really capable of being a much better player than he is. And the problem is that you worry about when he becomes a free agent, because I don't think he's going to stop accelerating. I think he's going to keep getting better offensively. And the problem is that he's probably not going to accept the extension that the Lakers offer, because he's probably going to be able to get more on the open market. It could be a repeat of the restricted free agency situation where they just don't believe in him because he's a skinny white guy, or, that's a possibility. But on the other hand, I think that there are teams out there now that recognize it. He's a legitimate 20 points per game, 5'5" guy. There aren't many guys.
There will be a market for him.
And I think that he could get 30 million per year from the right team in a couple of years.
You get it from us.
He might get it from us, but it would be a big mistake if we do, because I think L-Rob is exactly right. The problem is not Austin. The problem is the team, and you build around to get the best player. You need a really defensive stopper, a 3-and-D defensive stopper next to Luka. That is the formula to win. You need a Drew Holiday, Marcus Smart, Lonzo Ball. You need somebody like that who's basically can shut down the other team's best scorer.
You mean Marcus Smart from 5 years ago?
Yeah, 5 years Marcus would have been good.
He averaged 1.3 steals per game this year.
I think he played 25 games though.
But there's still the point. The point is that it doesn't matter. You need a player that has that type of defensive character alongside Luka Doncic if you want to have a championship backcourt. It's that simple. And Blanca will recognize that this summer and do something about it if he's smart. And if he doesn't, it's a big mistake.
I would argue the only thing I would counterpoint to that is that we saw Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic make it work, and I don't think anybody's accused Kyrie Irving of being a defensive ball stopper. I'm not saying he's a bad defender; he's a fine defender, but I would put Kyrie and
he made it work. They made it work. How did they make it work?
With a big center.
They got to the finals because of injury.
Great athletic young rookie center who's making I think $6 million or $8 million. But they won't be able to afford him this summer, which is the only place the Lakers could capitalize. We'll get into that a little bit later. Michael, your thoughts on the roster? I didn't mean for it to just be a Reeves.
Okay, first, this is why they're not going to trade. They're not going to trade Austin. His $14 million will not bring back equal value.
That's all I'm saying.
And if you want that kind of player that Tom is talking about, you're going to have to dig into more of the core, because nobody's going to want to take our junk in Austin, so you're going to have to put Rui, you're going to have to put some other pieces that we value.
There's a whole lot of one-way players that always disappear in the playoffs and that need to be traded for two-way players. It's that simple.
Yeah, but
every one of those one-way players you got.
Tom, let me finish. It's my turn.
For a couple of guys who can defend, because that's the whole problem with trust on this team.
Well, we're not talking about trades yet. Let's talk about what we feel about.
No trust, because if JJ knows that certain guys aren't going to defend enough.
I didn't interrupt you, Tom.
Defend aren't going to score.
Tom,
I didn't interrupt you.
Chill out.
Sorry, Michael. I apologize.
Hey.
So anyway, that's one of the problems. Another problem is you trade Austin, and now you got to find a backup point guard and a shooting guard, because he fills both of those roles. So you're not going to find him on the junk heaps. Yeah. So now you got two players to fill. And then if you include Rui, now you're going to have to find a forward. So if they trade him, which they could in the future, it will be once he signs a new contract and more equal trade value for him. because right now they're going to have to throw too many guys into the mix to bring anybody that's really, really good back. So that.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you on that. I think my feeling is that, I mean, there's a couple of contracts on the roster that are intriguing from a trade standpoint. Next season, Gabe Vincent's once July 1st hits, Gabe Vincent's on an expiring contract for I think 11.8, and Max Kleber, who somehow got playoff minutes in Game 5, despite not having played in 3 months, is an expiring $15 million contract. The two of them together is
11 million.
26 mil, 27 mil, somewhere in there, and
11 million. Kleber's only 11 million.
Kleber's only. Thank you, Tom. Yeah. Still though, that's a big chunk of change.
And they got what's his name, 3 million too.
I don't know what it is, but I believe.
Indeed.
Point being is that's a big chunk of change of expiring money, and there's a few teams that are going to be well over the apron, and it would be interesting to see how we can do some drafting maneuvering with. And I'm not saying we're going to get. This isn't to say we're going to get like a Giannis, but if you look at the guys in the $20 to $25 million range on teams that have a high degree of probability of blowing it up, or at least needing to move a big contract so that they get back under the apron after next season. And there's 3 teams that I'm thinking of off the top of my head that might be in that market, in Milwaukee, Boston, and Memphis. There's some moves that can be made. I think that this is a summer. There's a lot of intriguing things this summer. I have no clue how Max Kleber got that contract. I don't know I put him in the same boat as Alex Len, where I'm aware that he's in the NBA, but I don't know what he's good at. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Michael. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about the roster in general, or?
Well, just that if a team wants to get, if you got a team that, wants to get under the cap, but they want to compete, our junk contracts aren't going to be appealing to them. They're going to want to blow it up. That's what they're going to be looking for. I'm not sure that Milwaukee's going to look to blow it up. I know that the Grizzlies aren't looking to blow it up. And, Boston needs to get under, but who knows who they'll I think Holiday's probably the number one guy that they might look to move, because they
who has cap space to take in bad contracts, man.
Bad teams, and that's why they're not going to.
There's hardly anybody that's got
right now. I think the Magic and the Spurs will have
Magic, Pistons, Utah. There's a few teams.
None of those guys have that much. The Nets have it.
It's amazing how I looked at
a lot of those teams took on bad contracts for draft assets.
That's true.
So even the bad teams, a lot of them don't have much room.
All right.
It's going to be hard you look at it, Boston, it may take them 2 or 3 years, and an expiring contract could be the only way they could get out of the situation.
Yeah. And with Tatum going to miss all next year, I think they're going to start this year.
He's missing all of next year. I mean, maybe he could be back for the NBA Finals, but the turnaround.
He got the operation right away, which is very unusual. It's not usually they make you wait a month to get swelling down.
Yeah, they're kind of hoping that he just can get back ASAP. But I would be surprised if he was back any earlier than May of next year, which then technically I suppose he could be ready for whatever position of playoffs the Boston Celtics are in next year. But I think both he and Dame Lillard are the two. Those are the two injuries that just have the huge.
It's got to be a whole year, really, before
you're out for a whole year. You're just truly out for a whole year, and
they may be back to rehab a little bit at the end of the year, but they ain't gonna
Kyrie also. Kyrie may not be back.
All 3 of those guys. I mean, it's and you're not going to be trading those players, right? You're not going to find a home for Kyrie, Dame, or Tatum. So you're kind of rolling those.
There are teams that trade for Tatum. Believe me, that's no problem.
Because of his age, yeah.
The
other 2 are too old. The other 2 are too old.
Kyrie, Dame. I feel bad for Damian Lillard. I've always been a big fan of Damian Lillard. I feel for the guy, and it's unfortunate.
Game time is slowing down a lot now.
Well, it's time is the great equalizer. All right, let's get into. I want to talk a little bit about the LeBron James situation, because nothing makes me laugh harder than when people like make decisions about other people's money, which I've already seen people like suggesting, like Ramona Shelburne suggesting that LeBron James take the vet minimum.
I like Ramona's suggestion. I think that's a great idea.
Because you're one of those people that has a great deal of opinions about how much other people's worth is, what they should.
I would just say that if I were LeBron James, I would think a championship would be worth giving up that money, because I can make that money back 100 different ways.
I don't think it's the money, Tom. I think it's the worth. Money is just money. Worth, how much you value yourself.
I know, but that's.
I don't. I mean, this is. I would never presuppose that I understand where somebody like LeBron James is coming from in terms of how they value their worth, because you have to come into every season knowing you're already being underpaid. He's making $50 million a year, and he's already underpaid.
Right.
And that is the truth. That's the reality of every superstar in every sport on planet Earth. The owners are making money hand over foot, no matter what they cry when it's time for the CBAs to come up. But when it's time for you to help the team build a roster, why don't you just take the vet minimum? Because that's what you're worth. And I don't think anybody here would say I'm worth the least amount.
Oh, that's the best way to make the team be.
Oh, is it? All right.
Competitive.
He can
increase my odds of getting a championship ring.
You could.
This is what I think. This is what I think with LeBron. I don't think he's going to take the minimum. That's not going to happen.
No.
But when we were chasing Clay, when we were chasing Clay, he and Clay went into detail onto why he chose Dallas instead of the Lakers. They had to know something with LeBron, that he would give up a little bit to get Clay. LeBron has to give up about $6 to $8 million for us to use the full MLE. He might consider doing something like that if the right player was available.
Yes.
It's the right player. That's the key thing, though.
Well, that's just it. Clay was a former superstar. Would he do that for, say, an Alexander Walker? I don't know, but I think that he would do something like that. He's not going to go below he's not going to go a penny lower than what it would take.
Somebody's going to get Walker more than the MLE. He's really good.
No, there's not a big market. You got to look at number one.
There's not a lot of free agents.
Number one, that the Wolves have to. We're going to have to sign. Julius will opt out. They're going to have to sign him. Reed's will opt out. They're going to have to sign him. They're already over the second apron before that. Now, they do have rights on Alexander Walker, but bird rights, but how high over that tax do they want to go? So
I just think he's one of he's like,
well, he is a full MLE player. I don't think he's more than that. I mean, I've watched him.
I remember watching last time when we were thinking about the whole MLE thing, and I kept seeing guys get $1 million more than the MLE. Just somebody
for teams that had the room,
just to get up there and just eliminate all the competition for that MLE.
But for LeBron, that's my opinion. I think that
he'd do. I agree. But if it's a guy he likes, that's the.
If there's a guy he likes, he'll take a penny less. Then he'll take.
Sometimes even LeBron, he names a center he wants, and he puts out with Giannis. It's like
that was.
That's like it's like, come on, really?
I have a question. Rob, do you think LeBron there's a snowball's chance in hell that LeBron retires this summer?
No. LeBron's not retiring this summer. LeBron's not taking a haircut.
2 years to play with Bryce.
Yeah, he's not taking a haircut. So I mean, all of this is just if it is, it's going to be with the thinnest of.
That's right.
Shave. So all of this is just conjecture. LeBron, nor should he.
I agree.
No, that's my opinion on it. So, but hey, teach his own. And Lakers got to figure it out. It's not up to the individuals on the team to figure out that part. It's up to ownership to figure that out. That's but I've always been pro player when it comes to the salary and all of that. So,
now, with that said, LeBron,
but
without
the guys in
LeBron,
the chat's been dropping in. So I don't know.
What was that?
I said the guys in the chat just want to shout them out. 805 Fillmore and Frank YYC and Eric Kwan and all of those guys.
Oh, what did you say, Michael? You brought something up?
Oh, yeah. Even if LeBron doesn't really agree to take less money, we'll still have the taxpayer MLE, so we can add a fairly decent
5.7 million.
Yeah, a little something. I mean,
yeah, a lot different than the 14.5 million guy.
Well, if you look, I've been looking at the available free agents, and there's not much at the top this year, but there's a lot of guys that are going to be playing on the minimum that are worth more than the minimum because there's not enough money out there.
Yeah, you wonder if. I mean, our hope is that people want to play with Luka.
Well, I was looking at, for instance, Bruce Brown's probably going to be a minimum player. I would like to sign, and he wanted to be a Laker. He was all set to sign with us until Indiana came in with that insane offer of $20 million. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was going to sign the MLE with us. He's going to be available. If you look at some of the rankings, several sites have free agent rankings, and guys like, I would bring Spencer Dinwiddie back. We could get him probably for the minimum. There's several guys that we could get for the minimum that could help the team. So,
I mean, I hear that, and there's going to be a lot of roster spots opening up. I was just going through the chat. I'm on my phone, so sometimes it's a little hard to do both. The chat and chat, you've been great today. I apologize for not having posted more of your comments. I will say that I've always thought it just the most humorous thing when it's people who are non-professional and anything whether it's sports or movies or whatever, when people are like, oh, I would do this or this or that, and you've never been in that situation, and you've never had somebody be like, yes, but what if you took $45 million less?
Yeah,
and then you said, yeah, you know what? You're right.
You know what it's like, though, Jamie? It's like if I said to you, would you pay $1,000 to come up and visit me? You'd say nothing. That's $1,000, man. I mean, that's what probably 50 million is still LeBron.
That's a terrible analogy. That's the first analogy you've ever come up with. Yes, I would take $1,000 to come up and visit you. You're not. Well, that's not what we're talking about. You're talking about a year of LeBron James's life. The whole year.
We're talking about, no, he's going to do what he's going to do. He's going to play basketball. We're talking about how much money you're going to pay him.
And, anyway, he's not taking a pay cut. Except I think L-Rob's, it will be the penny below whatever it takes.
Take a $20 million cut.
I don't think it'll be any more than 10 at the most.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard 20 million was the number that he had to take rather than 6 or 8.
10 is enough. 10's enough.
10 enough.
Being a penny more, I think it's like 878, something like that. If I look at the math again, I could tell you, but I'm not. It's a little less than 10 that would require us to get the full MLE and a bit of change to keep us under the second apron for some vet minimum guys. So I think that, and he did that last season. Even when Clay didn't come, he still ended up taking a pay cut that allowed us to get far enough under the second apron that the team had some flexibility to make some moves. They weren't earth-shattering moves, but they were the kind of moves that you need to make.
There were moves that we had to wait for prorated salaries to drop to a level that before we could add it.
And that was all because of the options that got picked up. So
that was the Bronny James pay cut too.
Hey, according to some of the internet scuttlebutt, he'll be in the rotation this time next year. We'll see about.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I watched him grow a lot.
I
started watching him when he first went to the G League, and then what he was at the end of the year.
Yeah,
he was. It turns out that he was worth drafting.
Agreed, Frank. I'm not taking no $45 million pay cut neither. I don't care what anybody says. Tom can pay Jamie $1,000 worth of Coke. I don't drink soda. He'd have to get. I'd take $1,000 worth of scotch. At any rate, that's quick. One more thing about the roster. A lot of guys won't be on the team next year. A lot of guys who are either waived or are expiring will be gone. That includes Cam Reddish, Christian Wood,
They're gone already.
Their money was still attached to the salary cap, even though they were way. Their money's coming off the books as of July 1 or something like that. And as we roll through the playoffs, between June 26th and June 30th, there's a lot of player options. Not a lot. There's a couple. The Dorian Finney-Smith player option is the one that's the most intriguing to me. That could really throw a wrench in our offseason plans because I consider Dorian Finney-Smith to be pretty essential. He's a Luka guy. I mean, he struggled in the playoffs. I thought, but in general, I liked his contributions, and I think that once he got into that starting lineup, there was something interesting there. Even with Rui on the floor, I thought that was a nice little tandem of guys.
Well, that's a good small ball lineup that just can't play
small ball
24 minutes.
Do you really think they're going to turn over a lot of the roster?
No.
I would not be surprised if we basically ran this back. I would be surprised.
No, okay, because I was thinking that one of the things that's apparent about the 4 teams that are likely to end up in our final 4 is continuity, man.
Yeah.
When you look at the Pacers, you go through these teams, they're teams that have been fairly consistent. The teams that have jumped around and have been changing their lineups like we have generally ended up like we have.
Well, I think that we can fill our needs and keep everybody.
Who's a real keeper that we have as a two-way player? Who do you consider our two-way players that we're going to keepers?
Well,
Smith and Rui Hachimura.
Yeah, Rui's a two-way player.
I'd say Rui, in his playoff performance this year, earned the right to be included in that group that I would like to keep.
Thank you, Intel Wild. Gerald will be happy for your $5.
DFS, obviously.
I like our core. We need a center, but we have tools. What's really intriguing to me, the Mavericks are needing a point guard more than anything else. And I was reading some articles, and there was one article with Mavericks target point guards. Every single one of those trades included Gafford. Every single one of them. And so even though I don't think the Dallas would do a direct trade with us, we could actually really help them out getting a point guard by taking Gafford from the third team. I think he might.
We could offer Reeves, and then we ask for Gafford and for PJ Washington.
That's an overpay, Tom. Reeves too good.
Not for Gafford and Washington. It's not.
Yeah, but Washington, they would hang us, Tom. I mean, they would hang Nico if you.
Yeah,
they would tar and feather him.
Both of them are up for extensions. Michael, they're both up for extensions, so they're not going to give those extensions to those 2 guys because they have 2 other guys that are going to get the extension.
Yeah.
Gafford is going to be traded, and so is Washington.
This is why I don't get into trades. Nobody saw the Luka trade coming. I think L. Rob and I are the same about when it comes to trades and that. Like, oh, it's great, trade happened, but I just don't know.
Too much.
I just don't know.
It's too much.
It's too much. I get a little bogged down in my head about it. We'll get into trades a little bit more.
But you can't get from this year to next year successfully without it.
Well, and you know what? I always like to wait to even think about trades until you see what happens in the playoffs, because it really doesn't form.
Because Jamie, you also never want to give your judgment of a trade until after you see a year or 2 of it working. The league without trades is Jamie's favorite.
That's not true. I always believe no trades are going to happen until they happen. That's how that goes. At any rate, it's always kind of useful to see how a team gets eliminated from the playoffs, or if it's some teams when a guy goes down and they're looking at a massive amount of money. The Phoenix Suns are seemingly a Hindenburg of a team, a Titanic of a team, destined to explode, sink, fail, and implode in every conceivable way possible year after year. So there's a lot that's going to happen with that team. And the Miami Heat have a lot of interesting moving parts and are not a team to blow it up and rebuild. They're like a tinker team, but it's hard to see them tinkering out of this unless they acquire a guy like Durant. So it's going to be an interesting summer. I still want to see how the NBA Finals end before we get into trades and stuff. It's been a little bit of over an hour, so I think this is probably great for our final show regards to the season. Oh, hold on, 805 Fillmore. Okay, 805 Fillmore's been asking about Jared Allen all day, so let's go with this. Would you guys do Jared Allen for AR or Garland? Would Reeves for Jared Allen?
Jared Allen is going to get traded.
I would do Jared. I would love Jared Allen. Jared Allen
yes,
is one of my favorite.
Jared Allen. He would work.
That's one of the few players I would trade Reeves for because I can definitely see the fit and upside with Luka.
Why would Cleveland trade him? Because
he's hurt a lot.
That's
the problem. Is their guards. Their problem is not their bigs.
Yeah, the problem is they're going to add AR to a backcourt that's already successful.
Yeah, but I don't know that they're going to roll with Garland after
that gets abused by bigger players.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cleveland, there will be some changes this year, so
Cleveland's looking at bumping up.
The only two untouchables are going to be Mobley and Spider. Everybody else, if they can fetch something, yeah.
I agree, and I think that you're going to have. That's what I mean. Like you don't a team like Cleveland, you get to this, you get bounced in the second round with the record that they had and the way that they were dominating in the regular season, and it begets a lot of questions, and that's what I mean. And whatever we all think about the state of their team or their roster, nobody knows what if the brain trust is panicking in Cleveland. If the brain trust is like, you know what, we had some bad luck, we're going to ride it out another season. Let's just give it one more season. Yeah, and you don't know what Donovan Mitchell and Mobley are the guys that they'll ask opinions about, and everybody else is as our upset, I think, expendable. And those are the kind of subplots that come to trades that are intriguing to me or interesting to me, and that's why I kind of like to wait for the NBA Finals to play off. I'd like to thank this panel. We've had a wonderful season. Unfortunately, it ended in the first round of the playoffs for us. I'm looking forward to seeing what we do with Luka Doncic. I'm excited to see. I'm hopeful that Luka comes into the season really motivated to be in really great shape.
He will be, I think.
I hope so. I really hope so. I really.
I hope LeBron knows where he lives and
shows up with some big bodyguards every day to escort him to the gym.
Really, for sure.
That's right. Force him into the gym.
Take away his hookah. Take away his hookah. Take away his beer.
I think
guys there in the morning every day.
Frank, that's an interesting point about Jared Allen. I don't know that the lights are too bright. I think that we'll get into this later. I think one of the things that's exposed in the playoffs is that like guys who are lob threats are easy to shut down. And that you just don't care about it as much in the regular season, but you care about it when the playoffs come around. And you saw that with the Lakers. You saw it with the Mavericks last year with Daniel Gafford kind of being isolated and not being as essential as he was in the regular season. And that's just the truth of the playoffs. And that's why they call it a different season. The path to the lob is not what it is in the regular season. It's not the weapon that you envision it to be in this, and that's what I think a guy like Jared Allen. But you cannot deny Jared Allen's defensive skills and instincts and talent. And
but it also takes away your spacing when you have a Jared Allen in your lineup.
Sure, but I think you need a gazelle.
No, if the vertical spacing doesn't replace the horizontal spacing.
That's a fair point. And we'll get into that. I've got to move on with my day. It's a wonderfully murky day here in Southern California, so we're going to do some house cleaning before the wife gets home from the library and the haircut. So anyway, I'd like to thank Michael H., Laker Tom, L. Rob, Sean Grice, Joe Soro, Stone Hansen, of course, the irreplaceable and inestimable Gerald Glassford for helping us get all this thing off the ground, and the entire Lakerholics chat. You guys are all great. I have a lot of fun doing this, and it's a great way to vent and keep myself sane when it comes to the Lakers, because otherwise I think I'd drive myself a little bit crazy. So thank you all for everything you do, and let's all be awesome to one another. Have a great day.
Aloha.
See you guys.
Go.
Adios.